I want to talk about pivoting a little bit.
Yes.
So I believe we're close to the same age. Not going to blurt it out, but I believe we're close in age.
Yes, we are.
We didn't grow up in a digital age like my children, my nieces, my nephew. They've always had something digital, iPads, tablets, phones, and they've always been on social media. Social
Mhm.
media is something that we didn't grow up with per se. But I do believe social media is what's going to keep us thriving and keep us in front of people. How did you get into social media? Because I think as soon as you started your company, like mine, I had a business partner and she was like, let's do podcasts. And I'm like, podcast? Like in my mind, I'm like, why are we doing this? I started a podcast in the first 6 months of opening. And then you said your company's been open for 4 years and your
Yes,
podcast has been going on for 4 years. So
absolutely.
how did you pivot to that?
You know, it's interesting. It just brings me to one of the things that you hear about in sports now. They talk about name, image, and likeness.
Yes.
For me, it was the same thing, but from a real estate perspective. Like I mentioned before, I started off for 12 years working with developers. When I was in Las Vegas, the developer I was working with at the time, they would take pictures, set up photo shoots. I was the face of their corporate calendar that they would distribute through all of the offices. I would have posters and billboards locally. And what I realized then was my image and likeness is what they were using to spur on business.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes you can be flattered by the attention at first. You're like, oh, it's really cool to be on the calendar. It's really cool to have a billboard. But after a while, once that subsides, you start to see the value in your image and likeness when it comes to the promotion. So that was the first time. Then when I transitioned to Texas and I was still working for a developer, it happened again. This particular developer had a contract with a local television company. So every Saturday around 10 a.m., there was a real estate show, and I would be prominently featured on that real estate show, of course, in respect to the developer I was working for, highlighting their communities, their properties. And when you do stuff like work with television networks, then you start seeing how they aggregate all the content.
Okay.
Because, of course, they had a YouTube channel already. Of course, they already had their local news websites. So then I started seeing how my image and likeness, once again, was being packaged, branded, and distributed professionally, which then, once again, once the feelings of flattery wear off, you start to realize, oh, this is twice that this has happened. When I did start my company, I already had an example of what your image and likeness can be used for to spur business, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
So I had already just took, for lack of a better term, what people were already using of mine and just repackaged it and started to do it for myself. So I was almost exposed to social media content creation almost as a byproduct of my 9 to 5. But then it also set an example for me that this is what I should continue to do as I build my own foundational brand and build my own company. So I was just following suit with what I had already seen larger, more established corporations doing.
Okay, so that goes a little bit what we talked in before. We saw other people doing it. We saw how we could do it to fit us even better. Okay, okay. We have a lot of similarities in the way we started, just watching other people and things that we could build upon or just completely do differently. And then the most important thing is, I want you to talk about this. You got into it a little bit.
Mhm.
My original podcast was called Know Your Worth. And as a recruiter, I'm just going to speak for a second. You know how many times I go into places and I talk to people, they're excellent, but then when it comes down to money, they get really meek. They get
Mhm.
all that they were really like passionate and all that because they don't know how to ask for money. People
Mhm.
don't know their worth, and that's why I started Know Your Worth.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about knowing your worth because you're on the calendar. I'm gonna go out on a limb. They weren't paying you extra for that calendar. I'm
No.
also going to go out on a limb and say they're
Right.
not paying you extra to get up on Saturday mornings and get on TV. And people forget like there's a Saturday you could have had a family issue. You weren't feeling your best. Like things of that, but you still got to go and be on,
Yes.
especially in a sales environment. You have to be on. So talk a little bit about when you realized your worth, and talk to people about why they should know their worth.
It's one of the blessings is that my better half happens to be a human resources director
Gotcha.
for a large corporation. So, in HR, that's one of the things that's very powerful is knowing your worth in that environment. So I have someone here on a regular basis who is consistently updating her resume, keeping her resume razor sharp, always working with managers, middle management, executives. So from that standpoint, I have that in-house. I have that in-house motivation to always tangibly know your value in the market. And it's amazing that even from an HR perspective, as they label what's going on right now, the great resignation, all those people that are resigning don't understand that the offers that are coming out that people are receiving now are doubling salaries, sometimes tripling salaries. And in that space, those are the things that have always kept me on the forefront of knowing how much is my talent worth? Am I investing my time and my talents in the most profitable endeavors? And when people approach me for partnerships, how to best either leverage my time or the partnership as far as the delegation of work or the delegation of resources. So I'm so proud to meet someone like you that is spreading that particular message, because I know, you probably speak with people all the time that's like, well, I'm interviewing with X, Y, and Z. They are offering me this, but I think I should get that. And I know you're like, well, ask for what you want. But so many people, there's an invisible communication barrier. And I don't know if it's that inner voice. I don't know if it's a professional self-esteem thing. And I'd be curious to know what you believe it stems from. Because I've had to work with so many people. Just example. When I was working for the developers, like you say, not to date ourselves,
right?
We were receiving 1% of the closing commission. So whatever the home sold for at closing, as a salesperson, I would get 1% of that. So make a long story short, if the house was $300,000, I made $3. But the real estate person that was an entrepreneur or the real estate broker or the real estate agent that I would be working with, that I would be partnering with, they would get 3%. So a $300,000 sale for me with a W-2 would earn me $3,000, while them with a 1099 was receiving $9,000. And the paperwork, the amount of time, the anxiety and the stress was the same. So after a while, you have to ask yourself, is the security of having an office that I have to report to every day at 8 o'clock, having the mental relaxation of knowing that, we're closing this office every day at 6, was that worth me losing $6,000 a transaction?
Right.
And to everyone in your audience, it took me 10 years almost to be like, no, I'm willing to invest in myself on the front end to be able to make the entire $9,000 on the back end. And that was just something that I had to come to grips with within myself. It was my own inner back and forth. It was my own inner struggle. So for everyone in your audience, I tell people all the time that you can believe in yourself, because the things that you're establishing, the building of a company, you only have to do it one time the right way. If you take care of your business, if you follow the rules, if you are good at following direction, if you have a great mentor, you can establish a lifelong brand, a sustainable corporation that will not only take care of you, but your family and generations of your lineage into the future. So when I meet with the new real estate trainees, I tell them, we just got to do this right one time, so that our house that we're building is on a solid foundation. And then from that point, the world is yours.
What you said, it definitely resonates with me, because there was one time where I promise you, this company I was working for sent me an email they shouldn't have sent me. Every month they were making, and this is not a joke, $25,000 a month off of my work.
Yeah.
And $25,000 a head per month. And I looked at that. I was like, hold up, what? So you're telling me I'm worth $25,000 a month minimum for the work that I do? And you asked the question earlier, why don't people? I think there needs to be, it is some inner self-esteem. It is, some companies will beat you down and beat you up. You can't do better than us. Take this 3% hike every year and just stay with us for 20 years while we make millions of dollars off of you over that 20, 30, 40 year period. A lot of it is, I think there needs to be a class in negotiations.
Oh, wow.
Because I know people who will negotiate their what's off for that company, but won't negotiate for themselves. As a recruiter, I have to say, this is what this job is worth and kind of be quiet and then let you come back.
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, I'm not going to try to talk you down to this price if that's your price and you know that's your price. And people say thank you all the time to me. You didn't try to dumb it down or lie to me or try to get me to interview, because when it gets down 3 or 4 interviews, you're still not going to take the job. It's $50,000 apart. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, like I think there needs to be classes on negotiate. I really believe that for yourself, because there are, as sales, you will go out there and you will sell for that company, and then when it comes to selling yourself, there are people who get really quiet.
And it's amazing. It's so what you're speaking is so profound to me, because I've always been around those high-end achievers, those that if they're on a sales team need to be number 1 in the division, 1 or 2 at the least.
Yep.
And they develop skills, they go to training, they read books, they practice scripts. They're the regional trainer for certain topics and aspects. But when you ask them to step outside of their company and to sell themselves in an interview style setting with another potential employer, all those skills go out the window. And I've always wondered, and from your perspective, what is it about change that scares some high achievers? It's like the people that are lower on the totem pole, they'll job hop regularly. But those high-end, top-shelf salespeople, managers, executives, for whatever reason, they have apprehension about getting out of their comfort zone. Where do you think that stems from?
I believe they bought in way more to the company than to themselves.
That's interesting.
I really believe that, because as a manager, and I've been in retail management, I've worked my way up the ladder, I have to try to get everybody else to buy in, because you don't want too much, like you said, job hopping and attrition. So now it's like, if I'm saying it enough, do I start to believe it? Do I drink the Kool-Aid myself?
Yeah.
Because I'm saying it all the time. I'm repeating it. I'm going through trainings. If somebody's down, I'm saying the exact same thing again to somebody. And then I think it's the comfortability of, I make 6 figures.
Right.
Like as a kid, I swear to you, all I wanted to make was 50. I thought I'd be rich. I didn't understand money in high school at all. Right. If I make $50,000, I'm good. I can have the house, the wife, the cars, all of that. As we know, that is not attainable on $50,000.
No.
Because $50,000 a year after tax and everything else is 30 to 33.
Exactly.
Let's be clear. It's not.
Yes.
But we don't understand taxes. We don't understand just so much goes into a job, right? So now, if I'm saying over and over again, company A, you come here, you can work your way up. Hey, 3 years ago I was here, now I'm here, now I'm here. I really believe they start to believe it. I make 6 figures. I can pay all of my bills easily. I might be able to go on vacation. But I believe what COVID has taught us is that there's so much more out there. And I also believe that people didn't have a choice but to come out of their comfort zones, because so many businesses went under. They couldn't pivot to using digital means of everybody's at home. They didn't know how to do that. They wanted everybody around the office. You couldn't be at the office anymore. So how do I watch people? There's different digital ways to make sure everybody's doing their job. As me and you both know.
Yes.
So unless you can pivot, which we talked a little bit about earlier, now it's like, okay, now my company's going. I've had at least 30 people come to me, and I've helped them with their resumes and interviewing skills. And I'm talking to them, and their resume is awesome.
Right.
Like literally, you should be making 250, 300 because I've been recruiting for since '08.
Right.
I know that you have the skills, but you're so used to being like, okay, yeah, I just want what I made last time. And I'm going crazy in the inside. I'm going
Right.
crazy. Because one of the things when somebody comes to me, I'm like, I want you to do some research, go out and see if you can see what your job is worth in the job market.
Right.
People's eyes come back like this big, like, this is 75% more than what I was making. This is 50. This I just doubled myself. I'm like, yes, I know, but you have to be able to want it. Can you ask for it? And that's where the disconnect is because I'm so comfortable. My children might be in college or on their way to college. Me and my wife both have cars, all this other stuff. But can't I pivot and now say, hold up, I'm worth more? And I see so many people cannot do that. I'm going to say it's between 20 and 30 people. A couple people was like, oh my God, it's more money. I'm going for it. But there are other people who just couldn't do it. Like it was a mental block almost.
Right.
Like literally, I can do all of this great stuff, and I'm running these two departments and only making the salary of one department. Now I can, instead of a supervisor, I should be a director. I'm like, look at director salaries. Oh, I'm not sure if I can do it. They become real meek again.
Right.
Like, don't know what it is. Like, there definitely needs to be a class on negotiations, being able to ask for what you want. And then, like, the biggest part of negotiation, I'm going to give one secret. Mm-hmm. Ask for what you want and shut up. Don't keep talking.
Yes.
Don't let them talk. And now you just sit back. They can do it or they can't. Also, if they can't do it, they're going to come with some other things. How about more bonus? How about more PTO? How about a better 401k? Like, whatever it is, you just sit back and you let them do what they're going to do. Don't talk yourself out of a bonus, which a lot, or don't talk yourself out of more anything, which a lot of people do.
You know, it's interesting. I had a conversation one time about someone that was in the job market, and they had similar issues and similar hangups to what you're describing. And the way I had to illustrate it for them is this: gas prices go up, we all complain. The price of groceries goes up, we all complain. The price of rent, if you're still renting, goes up, we all complain. If interest rates go up on loan and you're looking to buy, we all complain. I urge everyone, before you complain about the price of inflation, look and give yourself the test that you described. Look to see how much your job is truly worth. And I'm challenging most people that if they do that research, they'll see that the reason inflation is affecting their family so much is because they are underpaid for what it is that they do. And like you mentioned, some people may see a 75% bump or even double their salary. Mm-hmm. And then what they'll then notice is that the rate of inflation doesn't necessarily feel as constraining as it feels because now you are earning what you're truly worth. So don't feel guilty about asking for 75% more of what it is that you found your job is truly worth because the rest of the world is adjusting around you. You just have to keep up.
Oh my God. Me and my business partner did a whole series on go out and look, bring it back to your current company, but never stop interviewing. And like you said, your better half keeps her resume up to date. While I'm putting it back, I'm putting on the resume.
Yes.
Like, don't forget, like you can go back to that company since I've been here. I've been here for this many years. I've been to this many trainings. I've trained this many people. Now they're management. Just have your ducks in a row. And if they say no, keep interviewing. Somebody else will see your value. Unfortunately, that company could be training you for something better. Because we've talked about our companies training us to go ahead and start our own companies.
Absolutely.
Which is definitely. Well, thank you so much. I really believe a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. There was a lot of just similarities in our background. So this was so easy to talk to you about this today. I definitely appreciate it. But I want you to plug where they can find you across all social medias.
Absolutely.
I want you to also plug your every Thursday, and I'm going to follow you so I can start watching some things. But your every Thursday podcast, and then let people know if they're looking to become part of your group, how they can become part of your group.
Look, everyone in the audience, and I want to thank you so much for having me. You can reach me directly on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Rick. If you are a real estate professional, an aspiring real estate professional, you're currently in real estate school and you want to find a real estate home, or you just want a mentor to consult as far as giving you advice on how to start your real estate career and move forward, you can reach me directly at Prime Real Estate Rick. As far as the Prime Real Estate Network podcast, man, please, everyone, go to YouTube, just search Prime Real Estate Network. You'll see the podcast. You'll see myself and my co-host, Mr. Larry W. Brooks. Please like, subscribe, share. And what you'll see is that it's a very uplifting podcast. You'll see so many talented entrepreneurs and business owners that, if nothing else, will motivate and inspire you on a regular basis. We record the podcast live on our Facebook business page, and you can just find me at Rick Davis Real Estate on Facebook. We go live on Thursdays. New episodes debut on Spotify, Apple Music, Spotify. We're also on Stitcher. So anywhere that the podcast audios can be found, we're there as well. So if you need anything, man, I'm here always. I reply back to my messages as soon as possible. And I'm here. I like to fashion myself as a resource, because as entrepreneurs and business people, we all need to exchange ideas, get an idea of what best practices are, and also keep filling each other's balloon so we all can rise to the level of success that we all want to achieve, man. So I want to thank you again for having me.
So I just followed all the stuff you just said. That's what I was doing on my phone. I just followed you on IG, just went to YouTube, click the bell, all that stuff, so I can see everything that comes up. And I'll be looking for it this Thursday also. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciated this. I hope people listen to some of the things we said and just learn, knowing their worth, how to start their business. Everything isn't easy, but if you keep going, it will be what you're looking for down the line. But thank you so much. And as always, see you guys next time.
Thank you.